Hey new techers, we're going to do a little test with our Wacom tablets. So if you, when you do this practice project, you're going to find a picture and basically trace it and recreate it using the tablets. You're going to have outlines and you're going to have shading that you're going to have to do. Now if you're relatively new to drawing or you don't feel really confident in your drawing skills, I recommend finding a shaded sphere, searching Google for a shaded sphere and recreating that, and that can be your picture. That's a perfect thing to do. That's why every drawing class in the world does a shaded sphere at some point or another. Okay, to begin, I'm going to have my picture here on layer 1, so copy and paste that in. And then I'm going to go to new layer, so I'm drawing on top of it. Now I've got to set up my brush. Okay. Now each person is going to probably set up their brush differently, so this may work for you, it also may not work for you. I'm going to go to Window and Brush. Now I'm going to keep this size here. I'm going to have the size, that's about a good size, so about that big. I'm going to go to Shape Dynamics. I'm going to do Control for the size jitter. I'm going to have pen pressure. I like to set mine pretty high up here, right around the 60s. Okay. Then I go to Transfer Mode here, and under Flow Jitter, I have pen pressure. Okay, and this is my basic setup. Now what I like to do on the keyboard is I like to hold the brackets to make my brushes bigger or smaller. Okay, so I'm going to make a small brush and kind of start with some lines. Now it's a little awkward of a setup here, so forgive me for my bad drawing. Okay, let's try this. Okay, and we're back. Alright, so before I'm pressing, I'm just kind of lightly going back and forth. This is going to be like the edge of my pretend table. Kind of like that. And the harder I press, the more ink it lays down. Okay? And I'm going to go ahead and this is where it gets fun, because each time you plug it into a computer, the pixel difference between the tablet and the screen is very noticeable on this one. This is why my lines are literally all over the place. Alright, so that was horrible. I'm actually going to skip right to filling it in. So I'm going to use the brackets and make it bigger here. And I'm just going to kind of paint in some shadowy areas. So just kind of lightly go across here. And I find it easier to kind of fill in an area with some tone here. My opacity is set to 35%, and I don't like that. I'm going to crank that up, get some real work done here. Alright, here we go. That's working better. Now the reason I have it set on flow is because as I kind of keep scribbling over the top, it kind of works like a pencil does, and it adds to it. Now what I'm covering up here are the different levels and locations of shadows that everything has on it in the world. Okay, so when the light shines down, it's going to hit the object and leave a highlight. Then we're going to have what's called a mid-tone, so it's kind of a medium gray, medium color. Then we have the darkest part of the shadow, and because this is sitting on a very light table, there's some light that gets reflected off the table to the bottom of the object. Then we have the cast shadow, and it's darker towards the middle of the shadow and gets a little bit lighter towards the outside. So I'm going to try and recreate all of those shadow areas. Now, my project is getting a little dark here, so I'm going to hold Alt on the keyboard and touch on this kind of grayish color, and I'm going to color that in. Change that to normal. And it's okay if I go over the line. I'm going to select kind of a middle tone there. And I'm just kind of working back and forth. And what I'm learning as I'm going is that maybe I want the opacity down a little bit. Maybe I want the flow up a little bit. Maybe I want to change my brushes. And so I keep doing that until I get the results where I'm comfortable with them. Okay, there's a highlight here. A dark little edge here. Okay, now that I've got this shape in there, I'm going to go ahead and do an elliptical marquee tool, select a perfect circle, and then delete all the outside stuff. You can see how that cleans it up right away. Okay, and then I would go back and draw the cast shadow and everything like this. Once you have a great, now this still needs a lot of work. Now I continue to work on it and work with my tool here to get it the way I want to. Once it looks perfect, I have all the levels of shadow in there, colored in the background, then I would turn it in. I'm going to do a little bit more work on this and pause the video here, and I'll come back once my project's all done. Alright, here we have a nicely finished piece. This is okay. You could go ahead and turn this in. I did two different layers. I did one layer for the sphere and the shadow, and then I did another layer for the background there. That's what I started with, and then I would turn this in as a JPEG. Once you've done that, and you feel confident in your skills, I would say try and do another practice one with one of these paintbrushes and see how that works to use. Our next project is going to be doing a Van Gogh-like portrait. So we're going to be painting a portrait using these brushes and using the Wacom tablets.